I just went like,
I'm at Cook Doug Dining Hall. He's like, when are you getting here? I was like, 5 minutes.
like
Nielsen.
Nielsen.
Let's do some Nielsen talk.
also, I'm
Great
Andrew.
dining hall.
Sam,
Marissa,
This is-
we already covered that.
Conversation with creative.
this is like mid-season at this
People
point.
should know by now. New
Yeah.
listeners catch up.
Yeah. Go back and listen.
We have some great episodes. Some of the best around.
Our guest this week is Claire D'Amato from the Zimmerly Art Museum. She helps run events, most notably, formerly After Hours, currently Spark Nights.
Yes.
I think this is a really good one. She had a lot of knowledge about the exhibits and who they reach, their target audiences, students, families.
They really try and make the museum more than just a museum.
Yeah.
It's interactive, and there's different events geared towards, an older crowd,
Younger crowd, whoever. Yeah.
kids, families, everyone.
General public.
Yeah.
Sounds like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Everyone can find something at the Zimmerly Art Museum. So here's our interview with Claire.
Yeah, it's a great one.
All right. So we're here with Claire from the Zimmerly. And
Hi.
what is your position at the Zimmerly?
So my name is Claire D'Amato, and I am the, officially the Assistant Curator of Education and Outreach, but I am currently the Interim Curator of Education and Interpretation. So we've had a bit of a staff switch within the Education Department. So now I'm, just trying to steer the ship, as it were. So the Education Department at the Zimmerly Art Museum does public programs for students, faculty, staff, and more members of the Rutgers community, but we're also really focused on dealing with the New Brunswick community as a whole and, Middlesex County and the state of New Jersey. We just want everyone to come and experience the museum and learn about the great collections we have, the programs we have, and we're free to everybody all the time. So there's no barrier to access when it comes to visiting the museum. Just, stop in, and you can stay for as little or as long as you want. You can check out one piece of art. You can check out everything. And there's something for everybody if you come visit our galleries.
Okay, great. So how would you say you and your position at the museum could relate to creativity and, the arts in general, I'm sure?
Sure. So I graduated from Rutgers as an art history major and worked at the museum as a student gallery attendant. So patrolling the galleries, answering visitor questions, working events, and things like that. And that, along with my interest in art history, sort of made me realize what an asset museum education is and how creative you have to be when figuring out what types of programs to develop to interest the public. Now, we're trying to get students excited about coming to the museum and seeing it as their campus resource and their safe space to, explore their art, explore their creativity, and just feel at home. But we're also trying to have, academic programs which cater a lot towards student, but also faculty and staff communities as well, and generally focus a lot on our special exhibitions. They're more historical. So we do cater a lot to students, having student programs, wanting students to feel safe and included and welcome at the museum. But we also have a rigorous program of academic events, so events related to specific artists, specific time periods, special exhibitions, permanent collection pieces. But then we also have to cater to the greater New Brunswick community. So figuring out what families want when they come to a museum. If you're coming to the museum on a Saturday or Sunday with your toddler, what is there for you to do versus if you're coming, as a retiree who wants to take an art class. So there's a lot of creativity in the education department.
How do you do that?
When it comes to developing programs. A lot of it is, word of mouth, listening to the public, what people are interested in. We do a lot of networking with on-campus departments. We reach out to student organizations. We reach out to academic departments, cultural departments, and just try to work together to figure out what types of events we can co-host, what types of programs to co-host. Our exhibition curators, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And they are, really instrumental in developing the exhibitions that we have on view and figuring out what types of academic programming would complement their exhibitions. So whether it's a panel discussion about the theme of the show, or it's a visiting artist lecture, all kinds of things to sort of dive deeper into what that exhibition is about. And then when it comes to programming for families and children's, I think that's really where I enjoy spending my time, because there is a lot of art making involved in that. So, figuring out lesson plans and what kinds of projects to do based on, works or themes in our collection. Because, we want to tie the projects that we're making with children and families into the museum. Because otherwise, you're just doing arts and crafts at a museum.
Sure.
You might as well make it connect. So I would say a lot of my work is creative in terms of brainstorming lesson plans and project ideas, and then finding individuals to hire to lead those workshops, or leading them myself. And just sort of trying to cater to what people want their museum to be. We're not trying to just, we want to meet people where they are and meet their interests. So, it keeps people coming back. So I would say there's a lot of creative brainstorming in what I do, and figuring out fun projects to make. And I have a whole art closet, and it's really great. And I spend a lot of time in there, and, tons of supplies, ribbons, sequins, paint, canvases, everything. So yeah, lots of playing around and experimenting.
That's awesome. So, what is what exhibitions do you guys have now, and what sort of plans or activities have you created around that?
So, sure. Currently, we have our special exhibition, which just opened. It's called American Stories, Gifts from the Jersey City Museum Collection. And that will be up for the semester. And we recently acquired the collection from the Jersey City Museum, which closed down a little while ago. And so now we have highlights from that gift on view. We also have a 19th century European print show called The Roar of the Crowd, which is works on paper just depicting different crowd scenes generally in France. Then there is a Soviet nonconformist show, which is opening shortly, called Locating Georgia, and it's all about art from the country of Georgia during the Soviet period. And we have a special exhibition which is opening in our children's illustration gallery. And that is dedicated to the new children's book by Rutgers professor and superstar Brittany Cooper, and illustrated by Kathy Ann Johnson. That book is called Stand Up, and it's a really wonderful children's book about how there are different Black women throughout history who stood up to make a change. It's really a wonderful motivational book for young children everywhere. So we're having an exhibition of original illustrations from that book, and a book reading and a book signing. And in thinking about these different exhibitions, we are working on putting together our Spark Nights program. It happens once a month on Thursday evenings from 4:30 to 8, if anybody wants to come check it out. And each Spark Night has a different theme, and often our exhibitions will tie in with the theme of the evening, if not by being an overall sort of vibe. For example, in December, we're having a French theme to go along with the exhibition, The Roar of the Crowd. But sometimes there will just be special tours dedicated to our current exhibition. So we do have a lecture by curator and scholar Laura Allen from the Montclair Art Museum. She'll be giving a talk about Native American art and history and communities. So we're honoring the fact that it's Indigenous Peoples Day within a couple days of the event that we're having. We're also working with Are You Indigenous to run a weaving workshop that
awesome.
evening too.
Yeah.
So, we try to incorporate our exhibitions into our public programming, but offer activities related to the exhibitions, but in a way that they could interest a variety of people, a variety of
Yeah, I
audiences.
definitely like that. It makes it much more, I guess, it's broad and people can come to the museum, and it's not just a normal museum where it's just like you go there and you see the art. It's more
Right.
interactive.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I think is awesome.
Like, and for example, if you're coming to see the Locating Georgia exhibition and, you know, you're curious as to what else is happening, you could just check out the Native American weaving art project. You could sit in on the lecture.
Right.
You could listen to the music that we have. You could check out any of the other shows we have available. So there's really a lot to do when it comes to Spark Nights, and, you know, it's always something different every month. We also have a drop-in family art program on Sundays, which is called Art Together. It happens once a month. And those are more generally tied to the featured exhibitions. So that's free drop-in for families from 1 to 3 on select Sundays. You can find out more about it on our website. And, for example, the first one is this coming month in October, on October 9th, and that's going to be in honor of the Jersey City exhibition. So we're making an art project inspired by one of the works on view in that show. So we get quite a nice turnout. You know, people with toddlers come in, people with teenagers come in.
Yeah.
Sometimes just college kids come in together, and it's just a chance to sit with your friends or your family and be creative.
Yeah.
You know, it's free. We have everything there and no pressure. You know, yeah.
Also, it seems like you guys are really, focused on have a wide range of voices too that aren't just like, you know, like the white classic art history paintings, but you guys seem like you really are trying to have a diverse group of like people there,
Yes.
artists and paintings or whatever it might be, shows, exhibits. So could you talk a little bit more about that too?
Yes, absolutely. So I feel like historically museums are sort of seen as these ivory tower, white, inaccessible institutions.
Yeah.
But museums are really meant to hold art in the public trust. You know, they're meant to hold art for people. And people is everybody. You know, you don't want anyone excluded from viewing art, regardless of what type of art it is, regardless of where it is. You know, it should be accessible. And our new director, Maura Riley, has really committed herself to the initiative of representing more women artists and more BIPOC artists in our collections and in our special exhibitions. So when you come to the museum, there are galleries where art is on view all the time, and pieces change in and out, but our permanent collections are always open. And then we have special exhibitions, which change periodically throughout the semester. So we're really working hard to diversify our holdings and who we have on view, because it's important for the college students, it's important for faculty and staff, and it's important for the children that come, you know,
Absolutely.
everyone to see themselves represented. Even if you're not looking at portraits, even if you're just seeing like, oh, there's an artist who's from where I'm from, or who has the same name as me, or we share the same culture, like it's important to see everyone represented, you know, because everyone is creative. All over the world, there are tons of creatives, you know, and it's not just like a European thing or an American thing. It's
Yeah.
an everywhere thing. So we're really working hard to, you know, dig deep in our collection and be proud of being able to diversify what we have on view. And, you know, we're getting really good feedback, and people are still enjoying, if not more, people enjoy coming to the Zimmerly, but I feel like even more so now,
Yeah.
the greater audiences that we're getting are,
Yeah.
you know, seeing the value more and more. If
That's
that makes
actually-
sense. That
yeah,
was
definitely.
that was really terribly worded.
No, it was good.
But I'm like, the idea just, it can't. Yeah. So we are hoping to have, you know, as a university art museum, one of the largest collections representing women artists out on view. So
That's great.
we're really working hard, and
Yeah.
it's an initiative that we're very excited about.
Yeah.
And especially in keeping with President Holloway's idea of Rutgers as a beloved community. You
Yeah,
know, you
sure.
want everyone to feel included. You want everyone to feel safe and welcome. And I think that's part of what I love about the Zimmerly is I always felt welcome and cared for and at home there. And I love that students come to the museum and also feel that. And I think it's something that we need to keep nurturing. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely feel it. I was actually there yesterday,
Oh, awesome.
and it's much different than other museums. It definitely feels more organic and, like Andrew said, diverse. And I mean, you got the Russian art section, and then
Yes.
The American Stories exhibition, which I love. And
Yes.
at first I was like, American Stories, like, what is this really going to be? But it's every different kind of American voice and style and
Right.
everything.
Absolutely.
And I was sort of overwhelmed by it in a great way.
Yeah, there's a lot of really excellent work in there and a huge variety as well. And going along with the diverse representation of like America.
Yeah.
Our what used to be our American Art Gallery is currently undergoing renovation, so it will be reopening hopefully soon. But we are starting to incorporate the idea of calling it the Art of the Americas, because we're diversifying what is on the walls in there, because America is more than just the United States. So I think that's a real positive shift in terms of syntax, and making people feel more at ease, but also recognize that we're aware, that the perspective is shifting, and we're just working to be a part of it.
Yeah. Like, you talk us through like a day, like just a day in the life, quote unquote, of a busy day for you, or something like a big event. Because I'm curious still, like, what that entails and like what you are doing in terms of like producing. because I produce this too, and sometimes it can be very hectic. So like, I can't imagine what it's like to then do that for a museum, pretty much. So I'm curious that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I get hectic. Like the other day, I had a meeting starting while my office phone was ringing, while my cell phone was ringing from a colleague, and then an email popped up, and I had something coming out of the printer, and I was like, I need like 10 more arms. But yeah, a day in the life. So right now it's me and our education coordinator. So she's relatively brand new. So I'm trying to get her up to speed on, also a day in the life. So I would say I answer multiple calls and emails coming from schools, coming from Rutgers departments, coming from the outside, of people looking to schedule tours of the museum, either within the next month or 6 months from now. So trying to schedule tours, working with our security department to make sure, the calendar is available and we have enough staff, working with our curators to make sure that, one of us will be available to give the tour, or trying to find a student guide or docent to give the tour. So that's part of it. There's a lot of correspondence with vendors and working out pricing and commitments to, play music, to deliver food, to run a workshop for any of our public programs. There's also internal things as well, working on grant reports with our development department, doing a lot of purchasing and requisitions. So we work with the business office a lot. And then there's a ton of work that we're doing, just trying to promote the programs, trying to promote the museum. So we work with our PR and communications department all the time, getting flyers out there, doing social media posts. We have a student right now who's running our social media. And then also not forgetting that we have to, also work on developing a professional development program for teachers who are interested. Maybe we have to research diversity initiatives or see what other museums are doing around certain issues that maybe we can, hop onto that as well. So a typical day, I would say, is having a typical day is atypical. Like every day is different. Sometimes you come into work with a list of things that you're going to do. Like, I have to get these purchases done. I have to call these people, set these things up. And then it all goes out the window and everything changes, because you have to work on, accommodating a department or a tour that needs to come, at a time that works with their class period. So there's a lot of office work, but there's also a lot of in-gallery work as well, because we're trying to get up to date on the information in the exhibitions, to give tours. So, for example, our curators do give a lot of tours, but then us in the education department, we give a lot of tours as well. We usually give the majority. So you always have to be prepared to talk to a group,
Yeah.
to be able to answer questions, and, for any age group. It could be a specific college class that comes in. It could be, the second graders from down the street.
Yeah.
So a typical day is just sort of a lot of running around,
Yeah.
I would say. But I think that keeps it fun too.
Sure.
You don't come into work and expect you're going to be doing the same thing. And there's a lot of interdepartmental communication and opportunity to meet people. So it's a pretty social job as well, because you're always making these connections and you're trying to get people excited about the museum and see how you can work together. And that's really fun.
Yeah, and then I guess follow-up question:
Mhm.
How do you like keep yourself in a state where you are able to create on the side, or maybe like create like your own projects, or write, or do whatever you want to do on the side when you are also so busy? Because that's something that I feel like I've been suffering from. I've been so busy for the last few weeks. I haven't really been working on my own passion projects. I'm curious how you keep up with that.
Gosh, yes, absolutely. So during COVID, I became a self-taught amateur watercolor painter.
Wow.
So that was really fun. I was working from home. I coordinated, through work, a few online watercolor workshops with some great instructors. And I was like, it'd be kind of fun to take this. So I took one, and then I was like, this is cool. Like, let me continue. So now that's sort of the hobby that I'm most interested in. And it's really hard to try and find time to carve out when you get home and your brain is just fried to like sit down and like start painting. So I've really been trying to set aside like one hour, like one weeknight to just sort of play around. I'm not trying to, make any masterpieces or do anything crazy. As long as you just put your brush to your paper, like it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
But it is really difficult, and I think the pandemic really made me realize the importance of keeping a balance between personal and professional life and making sure that one doesn't suffer on account of the other.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say, at least for me, the benefit is I'm working in a creative space all the time, so sometimes I'll come up with new ideas to go practice at home.
Helps nourish it.
Yeah, it definitely does. Or like I can come up with projects that I think would be fun to try out and then use them in a workshop at work.
Yeah.
Like that's happened before. So they kind of intertwine, but I really do like to carve out some space for myself. But my other passion is just like hanging out with my dog and like walking around. So that's a lot easier to make time for because she's very needy and in your face. But I think it's important, in any profession to have some sort of creative outlet, whether writing, cooking, and writing, cooking, dance, cocktail making, whatever, just to have some way to just sort of be creative and curious.
Definitely. I think you're in a unique situation where you work is surrounded by all these pieces that I would imagine inspire you. I mean, when I was there yesterday, everywhere I turned, I was like, oh, wow, that makes me think of something. Mm-hmm. That makes me think of a short that we might make or...
Yeah.
And filmmakers, like it's a frame.
Right. It's one. And what I really loved in the American Stories exhibit was the photography.
Oh, yes.
That some of the pictures that were in there were really inspiring to me. So being surrounded by that every day must also fuel your own creativity.
Yeah, it does, but it's also really nice that if things are hectic up in the office, you can just go down to the galleries and like lose yourself for a little while and look around, and it really helps to sort of take you out of whatever stress you might be in. And I know it's true for a lot of my colleagues as well. They're like really excited that if you need a break, you've got like what better place do you have to go wander around. It's not like wandering around, a cubicle filled office space. You get to go see these great works of art and always learn something too.
Yeah. And then as we wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
do you need more dates? Do you want to plug to the camera or tell anyone about events and like after hours or this is called
Spark Nights.
Spark
Yes,
Nights,
it used to be Art After Hours.
Sorry.
But yeah, it's Spark Nights. So yeah, the first Thursday of every month, From 4:30 to 8 are our Spark Nights, and they're free, open to everyone. There's light refreshments, different tours, musical groups. So come check those out. But also follow us on social media at Zimmerly Art Museum. And, we post regular post stories, lots of extra information and little insights into the collection. So we would love to see you online. We would love to see you in person. But yeah, just come visit us. We'd be happy to have you. Yes.
Go see art. Go be creative.
Conversations with Creatives is hosted by Andrew Alexander and Sam Finkel and produced by Marissa Aloya and Andrew Alexander. Conversations with Creatives is a production of Scarlet Media, a hands-on working and learning program for Rutgers undergraduates interested in digital media, filmmaking, and much more. Scarlet Media is part of the Division of Continuing Studies at Rutgers University and is associated with the Rutgers ITV Studio. Learn more about us at tvstudio.rutgers.edu.